In the quiet suburbs of Virginia, where winding roads cut through tall oaks and neighbors greet each other with the calm assurance of small-town safety, the unimaginable happens. A heavily pregnant woman is found brutally murdered inside her home. The crime scene is chilling. No forced entry, no witnesses, and few clues. But as investigators peel back the layers, suspicion falls quickly on the one person who should have been her protector, her husband. His demeanor, his unexplained injuries, and the trail of inconsistencies in his story begin to paint a disturbing picture. Then, in a discovery almost too shocking to process, detectives find a small fragment of human skin at the scene. That tiny piece of evidence would unravel a web of deceit and betrayal, exposing a secret the community never imagined existed. And just when you think the horror has reached its peak, across the state, another case shakes Virginia to its core. A trusted realtor, a woman known for her kindness and professionalism, is viciously slain while showing a home. The killer leaves behind no obvious motive, no clear fingerprints, and no witnesses. Just two haunting sets of bloody footprints stamped into the carpet, evidence that screams violence, but whispers nothing of identity. For months, detectives chase shadows, until forensic science catches up. A missing button, a pair of shoes, and the science of trace evidence become the keys to unmasking the ruthless killers. This is not just a story of murder. It's a story of betrayal, of justice clawed out from silence, and of the relentless determination of investigators who refuse to let evil hide behind ordinary walls. By the end, what ties these two seemingly separate tragedies together is a single truth. Killers can try to cover their tracks, but science has a way of catching up. Before we dive deep into this chilling documentary, make sure you hit that subscribe button, share this story with others who follow true crime, and leave a comment with your thoughts along the way. A peaceful Virginian neighborhood where quiet streets echoed with children's laughter and neighbors exchanged polite waves over trimmed hedges was jolted awake by a nightmare no one could have imagined. A heavily pregnant woman, her life brimming with expectation, was found murdered inside her home. For a community that had seen little more than the occasional burglary, the brutality of this crime left everyone paralyzed with disbelief. There were no signs of forced entry, no witnesses, and no obvious motive. Yet, amid the silence of that crime scene, a clue too bizarre to ignore emerged: a torn piece of human skin. It was evidence that whispered of violence so personal it made even hardened investigators shift uncomfortably. Across the state, years later, another crime would shake another unsuspecting community. A young realtor, vibrant and full of life, was found slain inside a home she had been showing. The brutality was staggering, her final moments hidden within the walls of a house meant to be sold as someone's dream. Left behind were two sets of bloody footprints, eerie trails marking the killer's escape. No weapon, no clear suspects, just footprints and drying blood. To solve the mystery, investigators would need to chase shadows across state lines, relying on patience, forensic breakthroughs, and the smallest fragments of evidence: a missing button, a pair of shoes, and the science of trace evidence become the keys to unmasking the ruthless killers.
And two investigations where science, persistence, and human intuition pulled answers out of the dark. This is not just the story of murder, but of justice clawed back against impossible odds. And before we unfold these chilling accounts, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Leave us your thoughts in the comments below. Your support helps us keep bringing these stories of justice and resilience to light. It began in Virginia, in the late evening hours, when neighbors noticed something strange. The house was quiet, unusually so. Normally, the pregnant woman, loved by her community, preparing eagerly for her first child, was seen fussing around the yard or chatting warmly with neighbors. That night, no lights flickered in the windows. Concern led to a phone call, then a knock at the door, and finally the devastating discovery inside. She had been brutally attacked, her life extinguished before she could bring new life into the world. Detectives arrived to a haunting stillness. The home was undisturbed, no forced entry, no ransacked belongings. This wasn't a burglary gone wrong. It was something darker, something intimate. And then came the clue. In the midst of the blood and struggle, a jagged fragment of human skin clung to the scene, out of place and grotesque. Someone had left a literal piece of themselves behind. At the same time, across the state, in another year, a realtor named for her charm and ambition was unlocking the door to what should have been a routine house showing. She had done it 1,000 times: smile, small talk, walkthroughs with potential buyers. But when she failed to return home, panic set in quickly. Friends called her phone, which rang unanswered. Hours stretched unbearably until the call every loved one dreads arrived. She had been found, brutally slain inside the very home she was meant to sell. Blood spattered the sterile walls. Detectives moved carefully, documenting everything. And then, a chilling revelation. 2 distinct sets of bloody footprints patterned the floor. 2 killers, moving together in grim synchronization. Back in Virginia, detectives turned their eyes to the person who, statistically, tragically, is most often involved in such intimate crimes: the husband. On the surface, he played the role of grieving spouse. But investigators noticed things that didn't add up. His injuries, cuts, scratches, he brushed off with flimsy explanations. His timeline was riddled with gaps, his alibi weak. Neighbors whispered about arguments overheard. When questioned, his words stumbled. Yet suspicion was not enough. They needed proof. The skin fragment became their beacon. Forensic specialists examined it meticulously, comparing DNA profiles. Could it belong to the husband or someone else? Every second of waiting stretched tension like wire. Meanwhile, the realtor case exploded into a manhunt. 2 killers meant 2 suspects on the run, and that doubled the urgency. Detectives plastered her photo, chased leads, checked local sex offenders, questioned anyone who had seen her last. But the crime scene held the most damning clues. The footprints, distinct in size, were photographed and cast. Each was carefully measured, matched to potential shoe brands. And then, in a moment of quiet breakthrough, investigators found something almost invisible: a missing button from a shirt lodged beneath the victim's body. A tiny detail, but it could mean everything. In Virginia, the husband's lies began to unravel when forensic analysis revealed the skin was not from the victim. It belonged to a male. And when cross-checked, it matched the DNA of her husband. That fragment of flesh was a silent witness to the violent struggle. It proved he had been injured inside the home, contrary to his claims. With mounting pressure, his facade cracked. The once grieving husband was now cornered by science itself. His motive became clearer: resentment, financial troubles, whispers of infidelity, a life unraveling under the weight of responsibility he never wanted. The death of his pregnant wife was not random, it was calculated cruelty. The realtor case stretched across state lines, detectives chasing whispers of 2 men seen hitchhiking, reports of stolen vehicles, sightings of strangers moving through towns. When they were finally tracked down, hundreds of miles away, they were disheveled but cocky, believing they had outrun justice. But in their possession was the evidence that sealed their fate: a pair of shoes with soles that matched the bloody footprints from the crime scene. Coupled with the missing button, torn from one of their shirts during the attack, the case was airtight. They were brought back to face the community they had shattered, their arrogance stripped away by forensic truth. 2 crimes, 2 different years, 2 very different killers, but both solved by the same relentless pursuit of truth. The skin fragment that betrayed a husband's lies, the footprints and button that unraveled a pair of ruthless killers. Forensic science didn't just solve murders, it gave voices back to women silenced too soon, ensuring their killers could never hide in the shadows of doubt. And as we close these haunting chapters, we thank you for watching. If this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and stay with us for more stories where truth battles darkness and justice refuses to be silenced. Share this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and join us again for the next story that reminds us of the power of perseverance, science, and the human will to seek justice.